Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast with your hosts Griffin Palmer, CJ Hickman, Jason Cabrera, and Ryan Mitchell.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is Friday, July 28th. This is the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast. As always, I'm your host, Griffin Palmer, joined by my co-hosts and co-analysts, CJ the Hitman Hickman and Jason Cabrera. What is up, guys?
What's going on? I'm back. Drink it in, man.
You're back? How was the Raw event?
Oh man, it was great. It was awesome. It was my first time going, so it was a good show. Can't wait to get to the next one. You sit a little closer.
I thought you had been before.
No, never, man.
Did you have plans to go in the past and just didn't go? I could have sworn you'd been.
I did. I was trying to go to WrestleMania. I think
that's
it was
what it was.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
The first time John Cena faced The Rock, but waited too long and the ticket sold out.
Oh, rookie mistake. All right. Well, you understand that. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Sure, you were coughing like that.
It's nice to have CJ back, so we can have somebody to keep you more on your toes, Griffin.
Yeah, man, Griffin, you were just off the walls last show, man.
Was I? I was out of control.
I gotta hold your hand through the whole show. What's happening, bro?
I don't understand. There's one time I zoned out because I was trying to get all the stats ready for later conversations, and you're gonna hold that against me.
All you need is one.
All it takes is one. Fair enough. All right, so. Anyway, let's get back to it. We have an amazing show for you guys today. Of course, we're going to be talking about all of the top rookies to target in this year's draft. Very important stuff, especially for the new people coming in that haven't been paying attention all offseason. This is the show you're going to want to bookmark, save, come back to, all that good stuff. We're also going to be bringing you all of the top headlines from around the league, as we always do. But before we can get to any of that, we have to do our bookkeeping. Yeah, bookkeeping. Good Lord, there it goes already. Make sure you guys subscribe to the show. We are on iTunes and Stitcher. We're on Podcast Addict. We are on YouTube. We are basically everywhere. Just make sure you submit to the show, and we come to you every Tuesday and Friday. You don't have to go looking. It comes right to your phone. It's pretty awesome. You can also submit questions and follow the show on Twitter at the FF Fanatics. Easiest way to keep up-to-date information as well. If you guys were on there this week, we saw a lot of the stories we're going to be talking about more in depth now as they broke throughout the week. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/the Fantasy Football Fanatics. You can find the shows over there as well as the community and get interaction with us and them. You can get all the links to our articles as they're posting. It's a pretty cool place to be. You can submit your questions as well through email. Oh, geez, I still haven't done it. The Fantasy Football Fanatics at gmail.com. I'll set up the website emails eventually. We've only had the website for 2 years. That's pretty bad. And anyway, moving on, the most important bits of news now. If you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/the Fantasy Football Fanatics. Get yourself a ton of bonus perks every single week, including much more in-depth topics for bonus episodes. I mean, the topic we're going to talk about now is something we covered well over a month ago over on Patreon. So, that's the kind of stuff that will be happening throughout the season as well. So if you want those perks, those extra shows, the discounts, the priority question answering throughout the season, waiver wire stuff, all of that, extra shows as well, patreon.com/the Fantasy Football Fanatics. Highly recommended. And of course, last bit of news, and this is, all the people out there, we're getting a lot of great feedback. If you want to play against the three of us in fantasy football during the 2017 season, all you have to do is go on to iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review. That's it. Once you've done that, you are automatically submitted for a chance to be randomly selected to play against us in fantasy football. All the submissions have to be in.
Griffin?
They should do it on iTunes. We're getting a lot on YouTube. We're getting a lot on Stitcher. We're getting people that are submitting comments on Facebook and on Twitter. It has to be on iTunes, guys, based on previous agreements that we made coming up to this contest. So iTunes, rating, and review. That's all you have to do, and then you have a chance to be selected. At the end of your review, make sure you add a Twitter handle or an email address so we can reach you if you are selected. But yeah, again, I know some people say they don't have iTunes. I know it's easier for some people to do other places, but this contest is specifically running on iTunes, so we appreciate the feedback across the board. So again, if you want to play against us, iTunes, rating, and review. With that, let's move on. We're going to move past the warm-up because we have so much to get to today. We're going to move right into our top headlines from around the league. We'll start with some quarterback news where, oh man, can we just skip some of this news?
No. You have to read all of this.
Throw it in there.
All right.
All of it.
Baltimore Ravens quarterback Joe Flacco suffered a disc injury in his back. He is expected to miss anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks as initially reported. Now, as of the time we are recording this podcast... Shut up, CJ. At the time we are recording this podcast, there have been new reports coming out of Baltimore saying that they are optimistic based on early reports that he could potentially rest for about a week and then slowly work back from there. It may be a much more short-term injury than originally expected. However, in press conferences, head coach John Harbaugh has reported that he has been in contact with Colin Kaepernick over the summer, and they were currently, at the time when this came out, exploring the possibility of signing him. Now, I want to go on record and say I think it's ridiculous that Colin Kaepernick has not been signed with some of the people who have been signed, but he is a horrible fit in the Ravens system. This is a lot like when Tyrod Taylor was the backup for Joe Flacco. Talented quarterback. Clearly, he's been doing some pretty good things in Buffalo. He's got a skill set. He does some great things, but very, very different from Joe. So when you go from one to the other, you have to completely alter the offense, and that would be the same situation with Colin Kaepernick. Not a great pocket passer, not a great downfield thrower for accuracy purposes. He's got an arm on him, but, I mean, not the best completion percentage. And, he's a mobile quarterback, and though Joe Flacco can run, he's not like Colin Kaepernick, trying to make plays with his legs, read option, that kind of thing. So it's just completely different builds, completely different quarterbacks. And to kind of go with that, a little bit before we started reporting, as we were putting the show together before we started recording, new news broke that the team signed cornerback David Olson. And you might be asking, who the heck is David Olson? Well, he was a quarterback for the Kansas City Phantoms, I believe it was, which is a player out of the Arena League. So, yeah, that's something.
There you go.
Not too excited about that as a Ravens fan, I got to say.
What? Why are you not excited about that? David Olson from the Kansas City Phantoms? I mean, wasn't he Rookie of the Year last year?
I mean, that's besides the point. It's Arena League.
I'm just making all of this up.
Yeah.
Just to make you feel bad.
I know. I was going to say, are you pulling that out for real? Do you actually know that for a fact? I didn't know that if that was the case.
No way he knows that.
Yeah. All right. So I was going to be really impressed for a second there, but he let me down as usual. So, it's one of those things where watch this report, because if you were interested in signing upsides of Jeremy Maclin, Mike Wallace, things of that nature, and especially young upcoming pass catchers in the Ravens offense, and really even the running game, because I think if the quarterback's down, they're going to just start stacking the line a little bit more with all the other injuries that we've been having, and we'll get to another one soon. This could really affect chemistry.
But it's still early, though. I mean, it's still early for Joe. Can you be really that concerned? I mean, 3 to 6 weeks. Look, I mean, okay, great. He's missing the training camp, and
that puts him out essentially through the preseason. So I mean, we're talking about him coming in with no rapport with some of these younger guys if it goes to the long end, and then he's got to figure that out. Yeah, but he's got a brand new number one receiver he has to build a rapport with. So I mean, it's problematic, and a new pass catching running back he's got to build a rapport with. So I'm just saying, 2 of his top targets he has never thrown to before in an NFL game, and he may miss the preseason. So that's reason for concern.
Triple threat. Joe Flacco, triple threat, man. He'll be okay.
Oh, jeez. Okay. I don't think anyone's drafting Joe Flacco unless it's a 2-quarterback league, but this is something to be concerned of if you're drafting some of those aforementioned players. For my sake, let's move on. Cleveland Browns head coach Hugh Jackson said that Deshaun Kaiser is progressing faster than expected. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've been hearing a lot of more rumors and hush-hush leaks that, Brock Osweiler, there's a very good chance he gets cut, and that they really did spend all that money to get him just for that draft pick, which is what we anticipated when it happened. But, of course, with how much money they've now dumped onto him to make this transition happen, a lot of people are assuming they might hold on to him just because they spent, what was it, $16, $18 million? I don't remember off the top of my head. What are your guys' thoughts?
I mean, hey, look, we see what Osweiler has done. I've loved the coach talk with Hugh Jackson. Basically saying that he's in the mix. But come on, honestly, man, you cannot, as an organization, put that foolishness back out there for another season, man. So absolutely not. And if he gets cut, Osweiler can't be mad. The man got he just got paid more than he ever thought he would ever get from 2 different organizations. So just go on and retire. Go and sit down.
Jason?
Yeah, I don't know. Osweiler was awful when he got his opportunity, and he got a whole season of opportunity. It wasn't like they played him for a couple of weeks and then sat him down. he got an entire season with some very good pass catchers to play with, and he didn't show up. And he was awful. So does it surprise me that we're not even hearing Brock Osweiler is in the conversation for starting anymore? No, not at all. Deshaun Kaiser, is he ready to start? I said after the draft that I think Kaiser is probably the most ready to start in this league of all of the people that were drafted out of this draft. So I could very easily see Deshaun Kaiser starting.
So yeah, it was 16 million. So I was right with my first guess. Right. They're even saying, because we've heard a lot of reports saying that Cody Kessler was leading the pack there early in the offseason and now leading into training camp. We're hearing that some rumors that Deshaun Kaiser could actually start off ahead of Cody Kessler as the season begins. Training camp just opened. This is way ahead of it. It's good news, but I mean it's a lot of coach speak, literally coming from a coach. So something to watch, but I don't think this really impacts my draft stock on any of the Cleveland Browns pass catchers. So we move on.
Best shape of his life.
Best shape of his life tropes that we hear every single day, and we will continue to hear for the next 5 to 6 weeks. Let's move on to some running back news. Do I have to?
Oh man, another one.
Another one.
What is going on?
DJ Khaled out there, man. Look at you.
What is going on? You just hit each other with baseball bats on the way through the tunnel, or what goes on?
I have been saying ever since the great offseason that the Patriots have been having that can we just skip 2017 and go to 2018? And this is just making me want to do that even more. So I haven't been the highest person on this next individual, but he was going to have a role in the offense that could become substantial, and this is Baltimore Ravens running back Kenneth Dixon will miss the 2017 season with a medial meniscus tear. They were hoping that they could trim it and it would be good to go by the time he essentially was done with his suspension, but not the case. Upon the surgery, they realized that the damage was more severe than originally anticipated, and he had to get a full repair, which will knock him out for, they said, up to 6 months, which will cause him to miss the year. This is his third injury to his knee in about the last year and a half, and I tweeted this out. Go ahead.
You know what, though? This might be a sort of a blessing in disguise for you guys, because there was going to be some controversy and some weirdness whenever he came back, because you got Danny Woodhead there, and then the question would be, what would Danny Woodhead's role be? Does Kenneth Dixon come in and take that role completely? What's going to go on? Now there's going to be some clarity with that backfield, because you're going to have Terrence West, you're going to have Danny Woodhead. You kind of know what's going to go on from here on forward, and this makes that pickup of Woodhead a much more important pickup earlier in the offseason.
This makes it much less of a committee and more of a lead back and change of pace back situation. So
right.
Because, I mean, with three guys there with varying skill sets that some of which overlapped, it was going to be super confusing. I think it would have been good for the Ravens, really bad for fantasy. So, I mean, good fantasy news, bad for any Ravens fans out there. I did say when I tweeted this out, this is what I was getting to, that get ready to hop on the Terrence West hype train. And since this news broke, he's already moved up about half a round in ADP. So he's now going in the middle of the 9th, where he was in the beginning of the 10th. So, something to watch. Right. This was a guy you were getting for a serious steal. It's basically sleeper territory that's now working his way up into potentially the middle rounds. We'll see how the trend continues. With that, let's move on. The Pittsburgh Steelers ran conditioning tests yesterday, the 27th, and running back Le'Veon Bell was nowhere to be found. He is expected to be away from camp for at least several weeks. Of course, he's playing under the franchise tag. So in protest, this is something that we see relatively frequently. What are you guys' takes on this? I honestly, a guy who has had injury concerns in the past, and obviously the suspensions, but this doesn't apply here. Someone who notoriously misses time during the season, missing conditioning and training, that's a big red flag for me, especially for someone you're spending a top 2 overall pick on. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, look, this is when reality starts to flip over in fantasy, and this guy wants to get paid. I mean, he deserves to get paid, but you got to understand it from the Steelers' point of view, just like we've been seeing as fantasy football fans. This dude is either suspended or he's injured. So, for me, I'm looking at him to take the leadership approach and show up. Like, hey, look, this is the guy. This is what I want to get paid, so let me show up every single day and show why you need to be able to pay me. I'm a little disappointed that he ain't show up. But once again, I can see it from his point of view. I mean, so yeah.
I mean, we talk about every year how people get hurt because they're not in football shape, and he's missing early conditioning. So that's scary to me. Go ahead, Jason.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, I understand the thought process behind what he's trying to do, but bottom line is this: you're one of the stars on that team. You're one of the guys that they lean on. You need to be there. You need to show up. You need to be more than just a well-played football player. You need to be a leader on that field, and that means showing up and doing what you're supposed to do. And so this is a little petty and not good. It's not a good sign, especially given the fact that kid behind him, James Conner, that's his name, right? James. Is it James Conner?
I believe
Conner
so.
is his last name. Right?
I know it's Conner.
Yeah.
I'll verify. I'm blanking myself.
Right. Very, very, very popular kid. He was number one in New Jersey sales. That's amazing to me. He was actually, the NFL.com reported that he was number one in jersey sales in the NFL. Connor, the backup. I don't even understand how that happens.
How is that
but
possible?
They are very high on that kid, and he could very well take some work from Le'Veon Bell this year. Would I do that? No, but he keeps doing this kind of stuff. It's something they may have to think about.
Maybe it's because James Conner, running back, 6'1".
Oh, right, okay.
He was from Pittsburgh, so he went from Pittsburgh to Pittsburgh. So maybe that's why he already had a fan base.
So yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
Local boy.
Because I was gonna say, besides deep fantasy analysts and people who professionally follow teams, you're not really hearing James Conner's name from most casual fans. You hear about the Steelers and you think running back, Le'Veon Bell, you move on to the next point of conversation. So to hear that he's leading over a lot of the really big names in jersey sales, it had to be something probably along those lines. So I'm guessing because he was a Pittsburgh native who got drafted by the Pittsburgh team that he has a lot of jersey sales. That would be my guess.
Good story.
Yeah.
Good story.
I mean, he's an explosive, dynamic, physical runner. So, I mean, and we've heard plenty of analysis saying that, if Le'Veon Bell holds out for the season and they get a really good look at James Conner, maybe if they like what they see, we saw what they were able to do with D'Angelo Williams last year, and was on the back nine of his career. Maybe if they like this rookie a lot, they let Le'Veon Bell go get that astronomical paycheck somewhere else, because Le'Veon Bell has openly said he wants to set the market for running backs. He wants to make the running back position better paid as a whole. So maybe the Steelers aren't going to be that team. They've had their hesitations with him because of all the off the field issues, whether that be injury or suspension, as we've already mentioned. So this is all speculation. It's really early on. I mean, maybe this is a guy we talk about a little bit later on. So, we're getting ahead of ourselves there. Yeah. So let's go back to what we were talking about. Next topic, San Francisco 49ers general manager John Lynch praised Carlos Hyde during Thursday's practice.
Okay. What was he praising him, that he's still healthy?
Well,
he didn't break anything.
I mean, look, okay. The general manager coming out and praising a player that every single analyst and beat writer and everyone has been kind of crapping on for both the eyeball test and all the measurables going into the situation, this just screams to me he's trying to plump him up for trade bait. I mean, I laugh at this, the fact that it's the general manager coming out and saying this, because of course, this is that time of year, it's coach speak, it's whatever you want to say, but come on. Carlos Hyde, we've heard nothing but negative reports since the new league year started, and now you're coming out and praising the guy after the first practice. Get out of here. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? That was my take on it.
I've already said I think that Carlos Hyde I don't think he's going to be the starter for this team. Like I said, I don't think they're gonna move him unless they get a great trade offer from somebody.
A lot of people are throwing the Ravens out there with Kenneth Dixon going down, but I don't see them doing that.
I mean, it's a possibility, and I would say that when healthy, that would be an upgrade over Kenneth Dixon. But that's when he's healthy, and that maybe lasts 3-4 games.
Oh, yeah, if you're lucky.
I mean, like, yeah, upgrade. Oh, he's hurt again.
It's like a really nice exotic car. It's good for about 100 miles, and then you blow out a tire or break something, and then you're like, well, that was fun.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I honestly, like I've been saying this whole time about this, I would love to see them push him down the depth chart to be that change of pace back and run with Joe Williams as their lead back. I think that would make more sense. It would give Carlos Hyde the opportunity to make it through an entire season without blowing a tire. and it would be great for the style of offense that Shanahan's used to running anyway.
Yeah,
True.
I agree. I know we talked about this before. I said in that system, look, I think he's going to be that Tevin Coleman to the Devontae Freeman with Joe Williams there. I think that's the best way you can be able to utilize him. And a healthy Carlos Hyde is better than injured and can't perform Carlos Hyde. So his numbers are going to take a hit, but I mean he's still going to be on the field and be able to be available. So I think that's the best way to be able to utilize him. Hopefully that's the case in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
But that's basically what he's become in his career now.
It's funny that we keep saying like tire references because the majority of his injuries have been lower body leg injuries. He's had 5 serious leg injuries during his playing career, 4 of which caused him to miss multiple games. So that's kind of a funny unintentional reference there. So we'll see how it plays out.
He's just sick, man.
Yeah,
funny. His leg injuries are funny.
I mean, I wasn't trying to make it personal. You're trying to take it there, and I'm not going to let you because we're going to move on.
You are out of this world, Griffin Palmer. I see what age has done for you.
CJ, you're just fired. Hey, I had a great birthday yesterday. Thank you.
I bet you did.
I did.
Hitler.
Wow. Why?
Moving on.
I was going to say something, and now I've completely lost my train of thought. So, yeah, let's go ahead and move on. ESPN's David Newton reports that the Carolina Panthers are, quote, peppering, end quote, Christian McCaffrey with, quote, short passes and screens, end quote, in practice. To this I say, well, duh. Come on, this is what everyone has been saying and expecting, and now we're just simply seeing it. So, I guess kudos to the community out there for all anticipating this. So I'm sure if we could see this coming, defenses in their division were already prepping for this. What were you guys' thoughts? Did you have any different takeaways from this? Because I read this, I said, duh, like some things we talked about on Tuesday's show, and I moved on to the next article.
Yeah.
Basically the same way. Let's just move on.
Yeah. Moving on.
Oh, that's what
not worth talking about.
I was going to say, that's what I was going to say. CJ's just firing back because he wasn't here to defend himself on Tuesday's show. Yeah, let's move on. Denver Broncos running back Devontae Booker is out 6 to 8 weeks with a wrist injury. So some would say not a huge loss because people are anticipating him being behind C.J. Anderson and Jamal Charles, but still a depth problem now. Both of those guys have injury problems themselves. So they have gone out and they signed former New England running back Stephen Ridley, depth signing. I don't think he's going to be challenging for early touches. So what are your guys' thoughts?
I think Jamal Charles. My bad. Go ahead, Jason.
No, I was just going to say, I really like Stephen Ridley. I like what he did when he was with New England. He has really high upside. He's one of those running backs that is multidimensional. He can do different things. So I like this as a depth signing. I actually think he might be an upgrade on Booker.
I mean, honestly, based on what we saw last year with Booker, he could be. He very well could be.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. But, interesting. I was honestly surprised they didn't go out and sign this next guy, but he had already signed by the time that they made this move. So Dallas Cowboys are reportedly signing, or at this point have signed, it's hard to tell at this hour of the morning, running back Ronnie Hillman, per various sources. I thought this was potentially an indication of anticipation for an Ezekiel Elliott ruling. They need to add more depth there. They have Darren McFadden. They have Alfred Morris signed currently. Maybe this is just a depth play. Maybe this was in anticipation. Hard to say because we don't know. What were your guys' thoughts? Did you think this was just a roster move that they made? They saw a guy out there that they liked, or do you think they're bracing?
I think they're kind of bracing, and he's a solid back. I mean, he was on that team when they went to the Super Bowl, and he had a good season. So I think
with the Broncos,
they're bracing a little bit. So yeah, he's a good solid back to be able to put back there behind McFadden.
Jason?
Yeah, I see it as a depth move. I think it's just depth because they've already got Alfred Morris, they've already got McFadden, both proven guys. Ronnie Hillman, smaller back, not the same kind of runner as Ezekiel Elliott. So I definitely don't see this as an Ezekiel Elliott replacement move. I think it's just more depth at the position.
Well, I don't think they're trying to replace their all-star running back, but if they're going to miss him for an extended period of time. They need more running backs. So that was just my thought.
Right.
And we'll see how it plays out. Let's move on to some wide receiver news with the Los Angeles Chargers. I got it right this time. Quote,
First time for everything.
cautiously optimistic, end quote, that first-round rookie wide receiver Mike Williams can avoid surgery on his back. So the carousel continues. We heard, he's all better. We heard that then, he's going to need surgery. He's going to get a second epidural to see if that fixes it. It didn't work. Yes, it did. That report was false. And now the team's saying that they're hopeful that he won't need the surgery after all. This just keeps on going around in circles. I just stand by what we talked about on Tuesday's show. I don't care. He's off my draft board. No matter what, he's banged up. He's starting off the season on the PUP list. There are 3 very good wide receivers that are currently working with Phillip Rivers. They have a rapport with him. He's going to have to find a way into the rotation coming back from injury. 2 very good pass-catching tight ends, a running back who can catch the ball there. So, he could still be a red zone threat, but I don't think he's going to have enough consistency week to week as things are going right now to be worth a draft pick. Maybe a waiver wire pickup down the line, especially when inevitably someone gets hurt because it's the Chargers, and that seems to happen every single year for like the last 4 or 5 years. They're one of the top injured teams in the league.
Them and the Ravens.
Yeah, I know.
Always with the injuries.
Thank you for reminding me. Yes, this is
that's what I'm here for.
Factual. They were 2 of the most injured teams the last couple of years.
Oh wow, Ravens players got injured.
Thank you. Anyway, yeah, he's off my board for now. I'll probably burn waiver priority on him before I burn a draft pick. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah,
I don't know why won't they just put him on that short term IR? So they can be able to. He can have this procedure. Most likely be able to get back, later on this season.
Well, they said the disc surgery that would be required of him would probably knock him out for the duration of the season, based on what would go into it.
But you pretty much should do anyway, because like you mentioned, he hasn't been able to do anything in practice. He hasn't been able to develop a rapport with the quarterback, and he's a rookie.
He got hurt literally the first day of rookie camp.
Right, right, and he's got a bunch of guys that he's competing with for time. He's not going to be able to get that time because no one's going to trust him because he hasn't had the chance to practice.
Right.
So to me, I'm like, put him on the IR list, or let him get the surgery just to get it out of the way so he doesn't have to worry about it anymore. But they're not going to use him much this year.
Do you think that the Chargers overlooked a potential situation here with him? Because they drafted him high. They drafted him in the top 10 at a position where they didn't have need. I mean, do you think that they misfired here? Do you think maybe the other teams saw what was going on here? Maybe they were more diligent with their injury research? I mean, or do you think this is just a freak accident and this is just a guy who can't stay healthy to this point? Either way, probably regretting that pick. What do you guys think? Do you think that was they're regretting it?
I think they probably are, man, because it shocked the crap out of me. I mean, live and in color when they did that pick. And
I didn't see it coming.
I mean, I did not see it coming.
We were all thinking defense.
I mean, if they were going to go receiver, I thought they would go Corey Davis there. But, to just go.
He was already gone, though.
Was he?
Yeah, he went
the Chargers. I thought the Chargers drafted before the Titans.
No, Corey Davis drafted him with the 5th pick.
Oh, that's right. They had 2 picks.
That's right. They had 2 picks. Okay.
Yeah,
that's right.
The Chargers
had either way,
9, I think. Or 10.
Right. Either way, they took Mike Williams way too high. And like you said, I don't care about position of need. That's not a big deal. When you're that high in the draft, you don't take position of need. You take the best available guy. But I think there were other players that were better than Mike Williams that were available that they could have taken. So I do think they misfired. I think they picked the wrong guy. And this has nothing to do with it. I mean, this is a freak thing. He needs surgery on his back. You can't foresee that kind of thing. But talent-wise, I definitely think they kind of reached for him a bit.
Yeah, all this is in a microscope more just because he's the first-round pick. Yeah, if this is a later-on pick, you wouldn't be having this conversation.
No. So they drafted him with the 7th pick. Corey Davis went with the 5th pick. Yeah, he went with the 7th pick. And we all were thinking defense, if I remember back to our rookie shows correctly.
Right.
We all thought
Jamal Adams. Yeah.
Jamal Adams went 1 pick ahead of them to the Jets at the number 6 pick, but I mean, Marshawn Lattimore was still on the board. Hassan Reddick was still there. We knew they were interested in Marlon Humphrey as well. And these were all guys who went considerably later. I have to assume that, they saw something in him. Look, great weapon, great red zone weapon, and, potentially a great fantasy option, which is why we're still talking about him right now. But, he's not going to get you points from the bench. And that's basically what it boils down to. So, I don't know. Little off topic. This is stuff we usually get into more on the Patreon show, but worth talking about. We're talking about rookies today. He's a rookie. So, let's keep moving. Let's see. Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Jordan Matthews has declared himself, quote, a full go for training camp. Of course, coming back from a knee injury. CJ, since you're actually here this time, let's throw the Eagles information to you.
Yeah, you guys were real funny last week on talking stuff that was pretty obvious. I don't know why you needed my opinion.
We just like your opinion on your team.
Yeah, sure, whatever. All right, so this Jordan Matthews thing is good. It's good to hear. A lot of speculation's been going around, about his knee and how bad it is, and the Eagles still looking for help at the cornerback position. Maybe they can be able to use him as trade bait. So all this stuff is going on. So to be able to see him out there, and I watched him. I'm seeing him doing this thing. All that is good. I'm glad to see that he's a go because he got to be honest. Last year he was a disappointing year, but still, even with that disappointing season, he was still the Eagles' best receiver on the team. Now that story's a lot different this coming year with Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith there, and then even reports of Nelson Aguilar doing better. But I still think that he's going to be in the slot, and I think that he's going to be able to go back to what he did a couple years ago, in Chip Kelly's system, where there's other talent around him that made him better because he's not the number one guy, but he's a great, solid number 2 or number 3, which he's probably going to be, and he can be a lot more productive.
CJ, in your mind, because there's a lot of rumors going on, and this is all, of course, pre-training camp, but there's a lot of stuff going on out there saying that they might actually move on from, what am I blanking on his name?
Nelson Aguilar?
Aguilar, thank you. Nelson Aguilar and Torrey Smith before the season even begins. And, of course, Jordan Matthews is going in the 12th round right now, which kind of is crazy to me. But, plenty of upside there. But with all the other wide receivers and him playing in the slot, I can understand him going down draft boards, but that seems far to me. Do you think he might be worth that late round flyer? Is there a chance he becomes, works his way back into that starting lineup, that those guys get cut? What's kind of your take on the Eagles wide receiver situation right now? Early in camp, of course.
For fantasy Eagles wide receiver situation, it is, I think you got to go, of course, you got to go Alshon number 1. I know you and I have different takes on him, but we
both agree he's the top target.
Right. He's going to be the top target. Now, outside of that, I think you got to go Zach Ertz too, because just off of the what the rapport I saw with them two towards the end of the season. Now, you just hope that can carry throughout the whole season instead of Ertz showing up and Mr. November can stop being that guy. But and then after that, that's when it gets a little tricky. In my mind, if everything stays the same of what I've been hearing, I think Aguilar could be 3, but he has a lot to prove. He's had his last couple of years have been really disappointing, and he has to be able to show out in this year, man. And then if you put him 4, was it 3? Yeah, you put him 3. After that, you got to look at 4. I'm sorry, you got to go Jordan Matthews 3, and then put him 4. Then after that, it's probably going to be the running backs. So, whoever's back there, if it's Darren Sproles, you got LeGarrette Blount, you got Humphreys, another guy they really like. That's kind of like, Darren Sproles, Padawan. They're going to put him out there more. So, it's those, you got those guys right there. So for me, I can be able to suggest that if you want to get a part of this Eagles offense, I would definitely go Alshon Jeffrey. I'll definitely go Zach Ertz. And then Jordan Matthews. And outside of that, if you're in a deeper league, then you can be able to pick up some of those other dudes. But for sure, I would say those top 3.
Nelson Aguilar, former first-round pick. He has yet to top 400 yards in his career.
Yeah,
and he is yet to get more than 2 touchdowns in a season. So I think they might part. Like, you guys have cut plenty of high picks early in the rookie contracts before. He could be a move there.
We just did it this week with Marcus Smith.
Yep, I was going to bring that up, but you beat me to it. And of course, Torrey Smith, he's due about $5 million against the cap, but if they cut him, he's only about 500,000. So I mean, those are both moves that could very easily be done. And Jordan Matthews could be that late round sleeper, which is someone we might talk about in future sleeper shows. I'm sure.
Will. Yeah.
And if those two guys are gone and it becomes Alshon Jeffrey and Jordan Matthews out there with, of course, Zach Ertz from the tight end position on 2 wide receiver sets every single play, that's pretty good value in the 12th round is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
we're all hoping that, of course, Carson Wentz has a much better year this year. Under 4,000 yards, only 16 touchdowns, but it was his rookie year. Hopefully he takes that jump, and we'll see. But, spending way too much time on this one point, let's go ahead and move on. The Miami Herald reports that Devontae Parker, quote, blew up the first day of Dolphins minicamp. So here we hear yet another outstanding, shining, glowing, perfect report coming out of Miami. I love this news because I was a Devontae Parker truther last season. Didn't quite deliver.
You left?
I told everybody when to dial back expectations, and I was right about that.
Reality set in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just didn't materialize. Second year of the offense, Adam Gase has a notoriously good fantasy producing offense, and the second year is notoriously when all offenses seem to kind of hit their groove. Obviously, much better than the first year in most cases. So it could be the case, but as we've said many a show, every single player is getting these outstanding. They're going to have career year numbers, and as we've joked, they're going to set records across the league this year if all these reports are to be believed. Now, this is a not coming from the team. This is coming from the Miami Herald. We've talked extensively in the past about how Devontae Parker has all the measurables to be a number one receiver, a great fantasy weapon. He has to put it together. This is his third year. We'll see. So this was just interesting to me. Do you guys have any takes here, or do you think that this is all smoke? Is the first day of training camp or second day, depending on, So, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts?
Camp talk. Yeah, it's camp talk. That's all it is. It's like, great. Yeah, you blew up in practice. That's wonderful to hear.
Yay. We'll see more before we start making decisions.
Especially out of Miami. This is the thing. When you start hearing one team talk about every single player on their roster as if they're the greatest player at their position in the NFL, you start taking all this with a grain of salt and going, yeah, we know. They're great. It's like, okay, wonderful. That's the best wide receiver ever, So, yeah, I think they're doing too much talking, and I'm tired of hearing about Miami. I'm ready to just move on.
All right, let's move on then. The Cleveland Browns wide receiver Corey Coleman has said that he is cleared to return to practice, coming back from a hamstring. Before that, it was ribs. This is a guy who can't stay healthy. He had a hand injury last year. Very talented athlete, but he has a hard time staying healthy. Are you guys drafting Corey Coleman, or maybe a late round flyer if he's still available?
Late round flyer for me.
The bottom line here is it's hard to keep him healthy. He doesn't have a decent quarterback situation right now. If the quarterback situation materializes, then I'll be more apt to move Corey Coleman up my board. But for right now, I probably won't be having him on my team.
Well, I mean, he's an injury risk, but he is going in double-digit rounds. He's going as the 4th pick in the 10th round. I mean, maybe on a volume upside play, it might be worth a shot, but it's case by case. What your team needs. If you need more wide receiver depth, he has upside potential, especially in a PPR. But I don't know. I need to see him stay healthy through the preseason, and then I can have a more informed decision. As of right now, this guy has been very consistently showing he's made of glass. So let's move on. Last bit of wide receiver news: the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Martavis Bryant has yet to be reinstated to the NFL. So this was just an interesting bit of side note. Apparently the
Was
paperwork.
he not already reinstated?
I thought he had been.
Goodell?
I thought he had been approved to come back, but apparently he has not officially been reinstated yet. So this was a side report that I saw. I'm going to look into it some more and see if this is typical or not, because this caught me by surprise when I saw this report as well. Just mentioning that out there to everybody. So we'll move on. Last thing, tight end news. Washington Redskins head coach Jay Gruden said that Jordan Reed, who, if you follow us on Twitter, we reported that he's going to start he's placed on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list, due to a toe injury to his big toe. So that didn't take long. And now, quote, may have twisted his ankle, end quote, overcompensating his toe issue. So Jordan Reed is already hurt, and the season is barely underway.
I just can't.
I know.
I just can't. Every time I hear Jordan Reed's name, I get upset, because everybody's always like, oh, he's fourth. He's the fifth. He's the third best their second best tight end. He's always in the top 5.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, no, the guy cannot stay healthy. It's like he's physically unable to stay healthy for more than a week.
I agree.
He's always on the pup list. Always on the pup list.
But his freak athleticism, his volume, his role in that offense, his raw ability. I mean, yes, I agree. He is a top 5
he's
tight
the most
end.
athletic guy on the bench. Then
Exactly. That's the thing. When he's healthy, he is amazingly productive for fantasy. But he's not often healthy, and that's the risk you take when you draft him, because this is a guy who's most commonly I've seen most mock drafts going anywhere from the 4th to the 6th round. So if you want to invest that capital into a guy who could miss half the season or more, he's already got 2 injuries on his lower body, and training camp's barely begun. So just something to keep in mind. In a little bit of more exciting tight end news, according to New England Patriots head coach Bill Belichick, tight end Rob Gronkowski will practice with, quote, no limits, end quote. Of course, coming back from his back injury, which ended his 2016 season. So we've seen Gronk do a number of things, including show up at a WWE pay-per-view. So good news. Move forward, and I think we'll continue to be the center point of that Patriots offense. You guys have any different takes before we move on?
Nope.
All right.
Happy Gronk's back.
Gronk is back. So he's already worked his way back up into the second round. Let's see how much further he climbs. With that, we've chewed up a lot of time in the show. We are already 40 minutes into the show, so let's see how efficiently, we'll probably run over, but this is good stuff, so we'll see how it all plays out. We are going into our topic of the day, which is your rookies to target for this year's draft season. Now, we're going to start off by naming a couple guys which should be already known to you, and guys that you may be wondering why their average draft position is so high. So we'll break those guys down first off, and then we'll go into some of the guys who you're going to be able to get really late in your drafts, double-digit rounds that are definitely worth the investment. A ton of upside in these players. So let's start off with the big names. We'll start off with the one going ahead of all the rest, and that is, of course, Leonard Fournette. Jason, you watch more college tape than I think both of us put together, so I'm going to start with you. Tell us about Leonard Fournette.
Leonard Fournette is a crazy, powerful running back. Straight up and down guy, a locomotive. I mean, he doesn't just seek out contact; he loves contact. So he'll run through the line, over the line. It doesn't matter. You cannot arm tackle this dude. Okay, you got to wrap him up and drag him down. He's on a team that is going to be bringing him in as pretty much the obvious starter. I mean, as high as they took him, you almost can't not bring him in as the starter. And then also they've opened up their offense by adding some more weapons, and hopefully Blake Bortles will be nice and healthy. So that may open up some lanes for Fournette, and vice versa. You're going to have a nice balanced offense this year, and Fournette is going to be a heck of a weapon in the red zone. He'll be able to get himself some touchdowns, and you'll be able to get yourself some points.
Yeah, like Jason said, man, he's an absolutely beast when you watch him on the tape. You know that. You've done your research on him. But one thing I really like more about him and why he's like the clear-cut guy when we were talking about these rookies, man, is the opportunity that's presented to him, man. He's, like Jason said, he's going to be the starter. You go back to Tom Coughlin's mindset when it comes to him when he was coaching with Jacksonville, when he was coaching with the Giants, man. He likes to hide his quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Now, you can probably say, hiding Eli Manning. He has 2 Super Bowls. Yeah, those are fluke Super Bowls, if anybody. Anyway, but you see what happened to him. You see what happens to Eli. You see what happens to Eli when he throws the ball. Like, he gets sporadic. He gets a little crazy. He gets scared, and he starts doing things. But when you put a running game behind him, you can be able to hide that. That's what they're trying to do with Blake Bortles. They're going to put a beast running game with Fournette back there and try to hide Blake Bortles' deficiencies, the things that why we criticize this man. So if you do that, that's going to be more fantasy points for you and more opportunities to be able to get those fantasy points, because this dude is going to be basically, the way they're talking about it, he's basically going to be putting up David Johnson type numbers. You know what I mean? That's pretty crazy. You're going to take the approach and go like, man, this is crazy coach talk, but the opportunity, it most likely could be that.
Look, this is a running back who is 6 foot, 240 pounds, power running back who can catch the ball. Not his forte, but he's good at it. And we talked about this a lot in draft season. If he's able to get past the first level into the second level, with the way this league's defensive backs are being built with faster, speedier coverage guys, he is going to run over safeties. I mean, he is a massive, powerful back. He rates, and when we were getting to the percentiles, very high across the board. And I want to ask you guys this kind of fun off-topic question: how many different players do you think ran the ball, had a rushing attempt in Jacksonville last year?
Oh, wow. So
I'm gonna say 4 or 5.
Ivory,
4 or 5. All right.
Probably Bortles is probably running the ball too, and then I would say, I'll probably say 5. I'd say 5 guys.
11 different players had rushing attempts for the Jacksonville Jaguars last season. They are looking for that solid piece, that workhorse, that full-time contributor from the position. He will easily step in and be the best talent they have there. Chris Ivory is good when healthy, but very rarely healthy. TJ Yeldon has been a big bust for them. They invested good capital in him previously. He's still going to probably be their main pass-catching alternative, but obviously Chris Ivory is good in that role as well. So, I mean, I think they'll be complementary, but I think Leonard Fournette comes in day one and is that workhorse for that team, and therefore on volume alone will be worth a draft pick. And talent also a big factor here. And because of this, he's currently going as the 11th running back off the board, as the 7th pick in the second round. And I mean, if this materializes to be even remotely as we're talking about, I'd say that's decent value for a rookie. I mean, look, obviously not the same situation as Ezekiel Elliott last year, but Ezekiel Elliott worked his way up to the back of the first round last year, and he easily returned on that value. So I think that 7th pick in the second round is a decent value for him. What do you guys think?
I think it's money. I mean, if he's there, I'm definitely going to get it if it's regular snake draft. I'm definitely going.
Yeah, Jason?
I might be more comfortable taking him a bit later. I'm lower on him just because of the rookie status and the way that that offense looked going into the end of the year. But I can see it. It's not completely out. It's not completely insane to me.
Yeah. We still need to update the. I'm looking at the website where we have the current rankings. Yeah, we would definitely need to tweak that a little bit. So I see what you mean. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to our next player, who is another name that you've probably heard a bit about, but not as much as if you follow, leading up to draft season, as much as you might have expected, and that is Dalvin Cook, who was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. I'll throw this one to you, CJ. CJ, tell us why we should be excited about Dalvin Cook.
You should be excited about Dalvin Cook because with the recent reports going on with Minnesota, man, Dalvin Cook can sneakily be a dynamic starter for this offense, man, because with Latavius Murray's injuries, man, we already know the injuries list when it comes to him, man. So you get this guy in there, he's getting bored. I mean, I think the big thing with Dalvin Cook, man, was going to be just the opportunity to get more carries, to get more familiar with the offense, familiar with the offensive linemen, and, with Sam Bradford, all those things. So all these things are happening, and I think that's doing nothing but just, bolstering his potential to, be able to go up higher because he's a dynamic back. I know you go look at the tape, man, there's a couple fumble concerns, but I think those can be fixed. Those can be fixed. And if those are fixed, this is a guy that you can be able to put in there, and he's kind of like, to me, he plays a little bit like Doug Martin. He plays like Doug Martin a couple years ago. Doug Martin was very elusive, and he had a fantastic year a couple seasons ago with the Buccaneers. And when I watch the tape of Dalvin Cook, that's what I see. I see a little Doug Martin in him, and I think he has the upside to be really good in this Vikings offense.
Jason?
I think Dalvin Cook's a better opportunity for them to get a dynamic player in the backfield than Murray. I think that he's a better running back than Murray is. And as CJ already mentioned, he's more dynamic. He's better at catching the ball out of the backfield. My only issues with Dalvin Cook is that he doesn't run between the tackles well. He doesn't seek out contact. He has a tendency to seek out the sideline, which can cause a lot of problems when you get into the next level here at the NFL because those linebackers are not slower than him anymore. Now they're just as fast. So sideline to sideline, when Dalvin Cook tries to do that, he's gonna have problems unless he learns how to go north to south in this league. But overall, I definitely think he's going to end up being the starter. I think he's a better choice than the current guy they got. And plus, we just mentioned last show, Murray got hurt. So if he wants to retain his job, he better get back out on that field.
Yep. This is another team that had 11 different players run the ball last year. So, I mean, holy crap. But they lost, obviously. Matt Asiata, he went across town. Adrian Peterson went down to New Orleans. So 2 of their 3 main rushers, obviously Adrian Peterson, one of the best of all time, not in the house anymore, which was their main competition. They brought in Latavius Murray, as we've talked about previously, which we all kind of questioned because he has all the measurables to be a great back, and we talk about this all the time, but he doesn't seem to have the talent or the ability or the work ethic to put it all together. And bottom line, the offensive line was suspect. Him going there from an amazing offensive line to an okay one gave us even more reason to pause. Then they go out and they draft Dalvin Cook, which Dalvin Cook did fall in the draft, and that has a lot to do with the fact that he had a terrible combine. He fell out of the first round into the second round, so that was kind of insane to all of us because there was a time leading up to the combine where most people were saying that Dalvin Cook was going to be the first running back off the board, Leonard Fournette second, and then he ended up being the third one off the board when it was all said and done. So, also, just want to point out, he has been healthy. He has been in the building. He has been at the rookie camps and the training camp and the OTAs, where Latavius Murray, as you mentioned, Jason, he has not been. He has been injured. Latavius Murray is currently on the physically unable to perform list. So he's dealing with an ankle injury right now, I believe it was. So, big problems for right there. And Latavius Murray, if I remember his contract, let me look it up before I say something wrong, but they have potential outs in his contract as well, and this could be a committee. It could be scary, but I mean, if Latavius Murray continues to be hurt, he may end up just coming in to be a red zone kind of guy, so you might be worried about Dalvin Cook for vultures, but the way it's going right now, Dalvin Cook is getting the rapport with the upgraded and has to be better because they're healthy offensive line. Sam Bradford will have been there for a full offseason, so the passing game, which really got going as the season went on, should continue to grow and become more respected. Therefore, they can't stack the line as much. Dalvin Cook could be a sneaky pick as a running back 2 or flex option for you because you can currently get him in the 5th round. So depending on your draft strategy, could be your 2nd or 3rd running back off the board. Is that good value for you guys?
Yeah, good value for me.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, then I guess that that kind of did all up. So with that, let's go ahead and move on. I was trying to bring up Latavius Murray, and I thought you guys were going to talk a little bit more than that. But,
you're fine.
Okay, yeah.
Moving on.
Oh, no, that's right. This is what okay, I remember now. We talked about this recently because there were all these rumors that he might get cut, but he's not going to be because they would actually take about another $500,000 hit. They'd have to pay more to cut him than to keep him. So, yeah, that's what we talked about the other day for I think it was the warm-up question. I don't remember.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Next guy is a name that I'm sure you've heard a ton. These were the top 3 names going into the draft, and this is Christian McCaffrey. We even covered him already in the news. CJ, I'll throw this back to you. CJ, tell me about Christian McCaffrey real fast.
Real fast. I mean, we already talked about it in the news, but when I see Mr. Christian McCaffrey in this Carolina Panther offense, I can see him being a Darren Sproles type player. You know what I mean? You already got Jonathan Stewart there. We talked about it before. You know, he's going to be their heavy hitter. He's going to be their guy that runs between the tackles and everything like that. But everything else, I think everything else is going to be Christian McCaffrey's zone. And I think that, he's going to build a nice rapport with Cam Newton. I know Cam Newton's come over reports talking about, hey, you can't take the bite out of the lion or take the roar out of the lion, all that foolishness, whatever. Look, man, we're just going to try to keep you on the field, all right? That's why we brought this dude in here. So that's what I think that he's going to be able to benefit, and Christian McCaffrey's going to. I like Christian McCaffrey this year, and I think he's going to have a good year.
Jason?
Yeah, I've mentioned my dislike for this whole Christian McCaffrey thing in the past with this team. The way they run the ball is more north-south, straight up and down, and then with a smattering of quarterback runs. And I guess the idea is that Christian McCaffrey will take away those quarterback runs, so he won't have to take off and run. He could just dump it off to McCaffrey, and then we're seeing that in camp with the little dump-off passes and stuff like we already mentioned in the news. So he has the ability to do that Darren Sproles or Danny Woodhead type of an action. He can also catch the passes very well, like a receiver. So that's very, like I said, very Danny Woodhead. So we could see a lot of that from McCaffrey. I think I'm staying clear of it for right now because I think this offense is going to struggle this year trying to find themselves an identity because they're going to try to stifle Cam Newton and keep him from running. I think he's going to get really frustrated with that.
Yeah, I mean, Christian McCaffrey, you have to be a believer in him to really draft him. He is going as the 18th running back off the board in the top of the 4th, so that's a pretty good value. You're definitely looking at him as your second running back, and yes, they drafted him with the number 8 overall pick, so they're going to use him. There's no way they're not. You don't invest that kind of capital into a guy to just put it on your bench. But as both of you mentioned, Jonathan Stewart is still there. He's going to be the workhorse. He fits that offense. And we've covered this a lot, so we're not going to get into it, but they're a very uncreative offense. So the fact that they were working in screens and things like that for Christian McCaffrey, which is how we assumed that he was going to be used. We think this isn't even going to be a committee. We think Jonathan Stewart's going to be the lead back, and Christian McCaffrey is going to be the change of pace, pass catching, maybe screen, roll out, 2 running back sets kind of guy, but I don't think he's going to be a big workload, workhorse type of guy to give you a 4th round pick return on value, at least consistently. I don't know. You guys think that's too rich for you? 4th round pick for Christian McCaffrey?
For me, yeah, too rich.
I second what you said earlier. You got to be a big believer, and I'm the biggest one on the show for Christian McCaffrey. Right. So I would have to agree. I would have to say yes. I would take him there. Me personally, I wouldn't. He's a guy I would love in my flex position, to be honest. I would love him in my flex, and then be able to go from there because I think it's high upside there. I mean, yes, he has a small body type, but I know my coach, which for some reason was using Darren Sproles heavily and giving him tons of opportunities, which I did not see coming.
But Ron Rivera in Carolina is not that guy. So
yeah, well, no, I'm just saying. Coaches fall in love with players.
They do.
They don't really care about the body type.
And again, you don't spend an 8th round pick on a guy to not use them. They're going to draw up plays for him. And I think, if Jonathan Stewart goes down, he becomes more interesting. I still don't think he has the right frame for what they currently do, but I think he's talented enough he could get the job done. And of course, with an uptick in volume, he'd be much more worth a 4th round pick. But to get him as your flex option, you'd have to be essentially going a 0 wide receiver strategy. He'd have to be, your 3rd running back at that point. Yeah, I don't know. It's intriguing. I understand why people are high on him, but I think honestly people are slightly overdrafting him because of the situation going on in Carolina. Could he return on value? Yes. Will he? It's iffy. So you guys want to add anything? You want to keep moving?
You can keep moving.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the guy that we all think is kind of the dark horse guy who could potentially end the season outscoring all 3 of the previous named guys, and that is running back Joe Mixon, who went to the Cincinnati Bengals. Jason, tell me about Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon is the most talented running back to come out of the draft this season. I think he got more of an upside of like a David Johnson type. He's got the size, he's got the hands, he's got the speed, he's patient. He can run between the tackles. He can cut to the outside, and he's got the speed to beat you around the corner. This is a guy that can do it all. This is a guy that can get 1,000 yards running, 1,000 yards catching. So somebody that is going to get worked in sooner than what the coach usually likes to do, because we know in Cincinnati they don't like to use their rookies very often. But this is a guy I think is going to demand touches because when he touches the ball, he's going to make things happen. He's got that kind of ability. This also is going to give their offense some flexibility because right now that offensive line is pretty rough. And you put Joe Mixon out there, you have to respect him, and you have to be able to know that when he goes out into the flat, you better cover him. So they can't send everybody after the quarterback like they want to. And I believe he's going to start this year. I think that he's the most talented back they've got, and he's going to end up as the starter.
No. CJ?
Yeah, man. Marvin Lewis, he's been through last 2 years of just headache with Jeremy Hill, and they had enough. They had enough, and they went out and got a kid that's better, just like Jason said, that's most talented back in their backfield as it stands right now. I think he's gonna, I don't think it's gonna be too long. I don't even think it's gonna take the second preseason game where Marvin Lewis just go like, okay, look, enough is enough. He's our starter. This is the guy that we're gonna go with going forward because he's a beast. He's an absolute beast. You see him on the tape. Look, don't worry about. I mean, I'm not gonna say don't worry about. Just put it to the side a little bit of what was off the field. When you look on the field talent, this dude is first round talent type of guy, and he needs to be on your team.
Yep, he is taller than Leonard Fournette. He's close to the size. He's faster. He's got possibly, most people are saying, better route running and hands than Christian McCaffrey, who we already talked about. As we've said, the off the field is the only reason he didn't go higher than he did. He went the Bengals got him from a pick they traded with the Vikings to grab him in the second round. Could have easily been a top first round talent. I mean, holy crap. Yeah, the backfield in Cincinnati has been horrible. The main downer here is the fact that the only things that worked for that offensive line last year were its two Pro Bowl right side tackle and guard, and they have both departed, so that offensive line is going to be the big problem. But this is a guy who also people are kind of catching on to. If you were listening to our shows back in June or May, man, in May, he was going in the back of the sixth round. Today, he's going in the middle of the third. So people are starting to catch on, do their research, realize just how talented he is. Third round, I think, is still a steal. The biggest knock, as we've been saying for the longest time, is that they just don't like using rookies in Cincinnati. Marvin Lewis is not a believer. He's going to be forced to. Giovanni Bernard is probably going to start the season on the PUP list. Jeremy Hill, he's been one of the most efficient red zone rushers, but, I mean, he's been a big bust since his rookie year. Joe Mixon can do it all. And they've got enough wide receiver threats that they can't stack the line. So if he's talented enough with that busted offensive line to make holes happen and find the seam and get going, he could easily be an incredibly productive guy and a guy you can get as the 15th running back off the board, middle of the third round. Potentially your number 2 running back. I mean, that's running back 1 upside there. So don't be scared of drafting a guy like Joe Mixon. So those are the big 4 names. Now, there were 4 big wide receivers who were taken. Corey Davis, Mike Williams, and John Ross. And for various reasons, we're actually not going to talk about those guys because we don't believe any of them are necessarily worth a high round pick. All of those guys could fall into the range where you're going to be getting players like Deontay Foreman, Joe Williams, Jamal Williams, players we're about to talk about, but they'll all be gone by then. Corey Davis has now been buried on the depth chart behind, Ryan Matthews. They have Eric Decker there that they brought in. They, of course, have Delaney Walker. I mean, do you guys see any way that he's able to emerge this season?
Sure. I mean, he's a little injury. I mean, also, if he's given opportunity, he is extremely talented.
I agree.
So if he gets opportunity, he is going to show that he should get more touches. But at the starting the season and really through probably most of the season, no, I think he's probably going to be down that depth chart just because he's a rook.
Depth chart.
I will say, though, if his stock continues to plummet like it has been, I will be a lot more interested in his in possibly putting see, I don't know, because this is an offense that Marcus Mariota, he has had great spurts, but it's been against bad defenses, and he has not been able to really put it together against good defenses. Now there's so many weapons there, which is good for the quarterback, but not great for the wide receiver and the team, as we all know, exotic smash mouth. They want to run the ball. He had worked his way at one point up into the early 8th round. He's now almost in the 10th round. And, if he keeps falling, maybe, because, injuries happen, and he could, we saw Rashard Matthews finish the year on volume as a good fantasy weapon. So maybe, but as of right now, I'm not drafting him where he's going. But he could get there. It's just too many question marks. We talked about Mike Williams, of course, in the beginning of the show, injury history alone, and just what's going on currently off the field, now being buried on their depth chart as well. I'm not touching him. What about you guys?
Yeah, not like I said. I mean, if you on a big team, like you mentioned last time we was here, you got a big team. Hey, look, maybe you can put them on your bench. Hope for the best later on. But no, I'm not going out to just chase him down and get on my team.
Jason?
Yeah, agreed.
All right, and what about John Ross? John Ross went to the Cincinnati Bengals. He has already been banged up, which injuries were a big concern for him. He is a deep play guy. As we mentioned, the offensive line is not great, so the question is if he'll be able to develop plays downfield. He does have surprisingly underrated route running, so he can do other things. But, I mean, that's where A.J. Green and the pass-catching backs and Tyler Eifert and everyone else is going to thrive as well. Is John Ross worth a pickup to you guys?
For me, I like John Ross. I think I'm the highest one on the show. I just like him because the deep threat that's there. And when I watch Andy Dalton, I see that's very common. That's something that he likes to be able to do. He's a lot more polished of a quarterback than he was, a couple years ago, when him and AJ Green was in the league. So I think he's going to look to try to take those deep shots. And the deep shot guy on this team right now is John Ross. I mean, so I look at that and I like it. So that's a guy I would risk taking a late round flyer on and have him on my team.
Boom bust player is what you're describing. So that also depends on if you're looking for an upside on a week or if you just like those kind of guys to build your team around. Jason, what are your thoughts real fast?
Yeah, I don't know with John Ross. I like the speed, and he's like a John Brown type of player as far as that goes because he's got really good route running and he's fast. Smaller guy. The problem is he's already been hurt and he hasn't played a game yet.
Right.
That bothers me. That worries me. And the fact is that is not a good offensive line that quarterback is playing behind, and he's going to need at least some 3-4 seconds for John Ross to get down the field to be effective with those deep shots. So all these things make me kind of go, nah, I'll wait a year on John Ross.
Right. He's going in the 13th round, so there's an upside. You could take that late round shot on him, but it's case by case. So this is, of course, the show Rookies to Target. We're just mentioning 3 big name rookies you will see going off the board, and if you're a believer, there is absolute upside there, but there's a lot of concerns around those 3 guys, which is why we're not focusing on them. We'll move on to the next guy that we're focusing on. We're all really excited about Joe Williams, running back, San Francisco. I mean, we talked about the Carlos Hyde situation pretty extensively, so Jason, I'll let you talk about this. You've been banging the drum most for this guy.
Yeah.
For good reason.
I really have. For good reason. Carlos Hyde is very likely to get hurt. He gets hurt every single year. It's just something he does. This guy is going to have an opportunity to be the starter, and I think he's going to have an opportunity to show that he is actually very, very good. Any other draft, I believe that Joe Williams would have gone much higher than he did. He'd have gone in maybe the third, second, maybe even the bottom of the first round, given that he was such a high-end running back. But because of the massive amounts of talent in the running back class coming out of this draft, he was pushed down the board a bit.
Yeah.
Now,
off the field issues as well. Some teams took him off their boards entirely.
And the off the field issues.
Yeah.
Right, and the off the field issues. So the bottom line here is that he's got a coach that believed in him. We've already mentioned a couple times that Shanahan was banging the table for this guy, wanted to get him on the team. He likes what he sees in this guy, and we could end up seeing a 2-back set with Joe Williams and Carlos Hyde, and which I think would benefit the team greatly and would benefit both players because Carlos Hyde would get the chance to rest and not get hurt, and Joe Williams would get the chance to get a lot more touches as a rookie.
CJ?
I like the situation, man, because I like the fact that I look at him like when I was talking about earlier about the Shanahan's running backs with Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. I see him being that Devontae Freeman guy in this offense, man. I like what I see on the tape. And, if that happens, I see it being a win-win for both running backs. So I'm not mad on either one if that's the case because they're both going to be healthy. And I don't see that ball being in Brian Hoyer's hands all the time. So I see them using the crap out of these running backs. So I'm all for this guy.
I mean, this is a guy who all the analysis, and just to sum up what you guys have been saying, he has been rated as a next-level athlete among the running backs in this class. He's flashed amazing breakaway speed, like out of nowhere second gear has been a term that's been thrown around with him a lot. Can accelerate very quickly in small spaces. Good pass catcher as well. Very talented guy. Many people were saying if it wasn't for the off-the-field issues, could have easily, and especially in any other year's draft, easily have been a first-round pick. It was the off-the-field issues, specifically that he quit on his college team that caused him to be taken off the board. Now, couple things in his favor, which is why we're very high on him, as we have mentioned extensively. Carlos Hyde, we expect him either to not be there, to be in a support role, or to be injured. one of those things are going to happen. If he starts the season ahead of Joe Williams, he'll be hurt at some point halfway through the year. He's never played a full season. In fact, he's rarely even come close. Joe Williams could be that guy, and Joe Williams was a guy who, yes, was taken off the board in San Francisco, but Kyle Shanahan banged the table to get him put back on. This was his guy. He went and got his guy. And, we've heard Carlos Hyde's not a great fit for that offense. That could be all the coach speak, but we know Joe Williams is because the head coach wanted him. Now, I also want to point out that in Kyle Shanahan's offense last year, the Atlanta Falcons had 421 rushing attempts. So even if both these guys form a committee, I expect that number to go up because he's not going to have a Julio Jones or a Matt Ryan passing the ball there. So I think they're going to be leaning a lot more on the run this first year. So Joe Williams, even in a committee, could be a sneaky upside pick. And then when inevitably Carlos Hyde gets hurt, he could be a massive breakout performer for you down the stretch. So this is a guy that you can get incredibly late in drafts. He's going in the 12th round, almost in the 13th. So you could be getting yourself a potential running back one come playoff time, and you're spending basically late round flyers on him. So something to keep an eye on. Anything you guys want to add? Or you want to move on?
Let's move it, man.
Let's do it. Next guy is another guy we're incredibly high on. This is the other Williams. This one is Jamal Williams, running back for the Green Bay Packers. Now, I'll lead off with this one. Of course, the big note here is that he is very similar to the Eddie Lacy build in Green Bay. We all saw what Eddie Lacy was able to do in Green Bay. When healthy, when in shape, when that offense was flowing, incredibly productive. And yes, we've heard reports that he will start the year second on the depth chart, which is what we all anticipated because Ty Montgomery has that starting job. Now, Ty Montgomery is incredibly injury prone. He's a converted wide receiver to the running back, which causes him to have problems, especially in blitz coverage, where he was getting Aaron Rodgers lit up. We talked about this pretty extensively the last couple episodes, which is why Ty Montgomery, though he was healthy at stretches last year, you wouldn't see him on the field because the team didn't trust him to protect Aaron Rodgers because what do they do in Green Bay? They throw the ball. Jamal Williams can catch the ball. He'll be able to do that role. I think that if anything down the line, it's going to be Jamal Williams as the lead back, Ty Montgomery kind of as the pass-catching back, or inevitably Ty Montgomery is going to get hurt, and then Jamal Williams is looking to assume a massive role. Green Bay does throw a lot in the red zone, but I think a lot of that had to do with the fact as well that they didn't have anything at the running game last season by about week 6. So just things to keep in mind. They tried a lot of pieces there. Nothing truly worked out. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback, especially for fantasy and red zone efficiency in the league this year. He throws about a 3-to-1 ratio of passes in the red zone and has an amazing turnover conversion rate, so why change it? But I think that if they're able to run a more balanced offense, they will, and Jamal Williams kind of is the total package here. What are you guys' thoughts on Jamal Williams?
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of the Joe Williams situation. I think he's a better option for them as their first and second down back. Because like we said, he's got that size and the power, and the dude runs like a hammer. I mean, he loves contact. He seeks it out, and he gets that extra couple yards. So I definitely could see them moving him into that first down role, and Ty Montgomery sliding over and becoming that third down guy, just like what could possibly happen in San Francisco. So, like you said, this could be a starting running back that you could be getting very, very cheap.
I want to point out, you know how on most NFL teams, your lead running back gets you like 200, 250 runs, and then when you get to the elite guys, they get to like 300 plus? What do you think the leading rusher in attempts had in Green Bay last year? How many rushing attempts?
Well, I mean, it was like a half and half type of a year, so maybe 110, 115.
CJ?
I'm going to pass on this one.
You're going to pass? Oh, man. All right. Eddie Lacy, who got hurt early in the season, had 71 rushing attempts. Ty Montgomery had 77. So you can see who was there for obviously the majority of the season. So you can see where their lead back had 77 rushing attempts. Holy crap. So if we go back to like a 2014 season where we had a healthy Eddie Lacy had 246 attempts. So if we're able to see that going and getting the ball running again, and Jamal Williams could be that guy, yeah, I'll take that in the 10th round, a guy who I fully anticipate to be getting starter snaps relatively early in the season. And anything you guys want to add to this? I mean, we're all very high on him. I might be the highest, but I think we're all high on him.
Yeah, good situation. Just want to see it come to fruition.
Yep, 45th running back off the board, 5th pick in the 10th round, and he could easily return on such higher value than that. And, of course, as we always like to talk about, players who aren't listening to this podcast, who haven't done the research or don't know these rookies, that's where they're going right now with experts and hardcore fans drafting, mock drafting. When it gets to your draft, these guys will probably all fall to the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th round. So I'm just saying, names to monitor. Let's move on to 2 more running backs really fast. Kareem Hunt. Jason, tell me about Kareem Hunt.
I like Kareem Hunt's upside. He's very dynamic, good player, and the bottom line here is I don't believe in Spencer Ware. I think Spencer Ware is going to end up losing his position or being injured, and Kareem Hunt's going to get the opportunity to start at some point. I think when Kareem Hunt gets the opportunity to start, they're going to love him, and he's going to kind of keep that position.
That's why I didn't want to throw it to CJ first, because I knew CJ was just going to use this as not a Kareem Hunt hype area, but a bash Spencer Ware, and you went there yourself. So, CJ, anything you want to add?
Brother Jason, amen. You're just preaching it, brother. You're preaching it.
Wow. So with that, I'll talk.
What I do. Okay. What I'm here for.
No, go ahead, CJ.
All right. Well, listen, man. He's just an overall. You look at the track record of Kansas City, man. You see they don't believe in that boy Spencer Ware, man. But you see this dude Kareem Hunt. He has all the upside in the world to be able to be that guy in this offense, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm putting it on there because I just look at the track record and I just see the odds are not in Spencer Ware's favor. I see that the stars are aligning, and I think my man Kareem Hunt can be able to get in there, be that guy, and we can start seeing some dynamic numbers from the running back position like we used to see with Jamal Charles. So that's I might be a little overzealous, but I'd rather look at the side of history versus, just say that, hey, you overvalued this guy.
I mean, yeah, basically Spencer Ware, he has been essentially the starter for 2 years now. Jamal Charles going down both seasons for the majority of the season. And they clearly have not been very impressed with him. They've always been running in a committee with Charkandrick West both those years. And, he's been underwhelming. He's been good in spurts, but he keeps wearing down. He keeps not getting the job done. I mean, he's averaging 4.3 yards a carry, which honestly surprises me for last year. I don't know. They clearly...
Headache.
Huh?
He's a headache. You keep exhaling every time you say his name, man. He's a headache. You don't want no parts of that.
Well, it's a very confusing situation because Kareem Hunt is incredibly talented. And again, if this was not as deep of a running back class as it was this year, he went in the 3rd round. He easily would have been probably a high 2nd round pick. Maybe in other years, maybe even a late 1st round pick. Who knows? But he's always been described as incredibly instinctive and is going to be a natural transition going into the pros. Incredible vision and balance. He can do a little bit of it all. He's been described as basically a combination of the best attributes of Spencer Ware and Charkandrick West rolled up into one. Now that being said, he is a rookie. So I expect Spencer Ware to get the start. I think this will be, honestly, and I, like you guys, want him to be the starter, but I think, honestly, this will be more of a committee, maybe even of all 3 of the guys, and it's going to be very confusing. But if one of those or both of those guys go down, this is a guy who could be a sneaky addition to your roster who you might be able to throw away. You can get him very late in the 8th round right now, and he could have incredible return on value if you're looking for upside players at that point. If you adopt my late round quarterback tight end strategy and you've already got 3 or 4 running backs and 3 or 4 wide receivers by this round, you're adding upside plays by the 8th round already. Why not? You could snatch him right there. Players going around him are players like Rob Kelly, who we're all expecting to probably lose his job, and Latavius Murray, who we think is going to be a backup who is going to be behind the rookie we already mentioned, Dalvin Cook. So I'm just saying, upside is there. We all like the talent. We have to see how it plays out, though. That's the main concern with him. Him being higher than the other 2 guys, honestly, kind of surprises me. Did that surprise you guys with his ADP?
Absolutely not.
No?
No, look at
No.
you. Just look at the history. You see the history. Those guys are garbage. This new guy that's in there, he's a good.
Well, no. I meant Kareem Hunt with Joe and Jamal Williams because I think both the Williams have clearer paths to starting snaps than Kareem Hunt, which is a little bit more muddled.
Yeah, okay,
but he was drafted higher. I think that's one of the things that makes it muddled is that he was drafted a bit higher than both those other guys, so he's looked at as being more talented.
Weren't all three of them third-round picks?
I do not believe so.
Joe Williams was the third. Kareem Hunt was. I'll look up Jamal Williams. Let's move on to the next guy, Samaje Perine, and I'll throw this one to CJ because I know CJ chomping at the bit to talk about him.
I do. The only good thing I like about the Redskins, and that's saying a lot. Samaje Perine, listen, you got this guy, Fat Rob, in the way as it stands right now, but I don't think he's going to be
you're right. Jamal Williams was a fourth-round pick. You're right. Sorry. Keep going, CJ.
Yeah. So I don't think Fat Rob is going to be that much of a big deal where you're probably have to be a little concerned. I think Samaje Perine, he's going to continue to show that he's that guy. He fits everything that they want to do when it comes to running the ball. He has that build like the guy that went. Dang, what was his name? Just went to the Cowboys. You guys just talked about him.
Alfred Morris.
Alfred Morris just blanked me for some reason.
Yeah.
There you go. So he has a run style and run build like him. When we talked about him during the draft process, I said he has a build like of a Maurice Jones-Drew, that downfield runner. He got soft hands so he can catch the ball. So all the pluses there. You just gotta wait for this Rob Kelly thing not to be a thing anymore, and after that, I think it's all green as a go for him.
Jason. Well,
I mean, for me, it's just the fact that they have more invested in Perine than they do in Rob Kelly. They spent a draft pick on him where Rob Kelly is an undrafted guy. I like Rob Kelly. I think he runs very well, and I that's why he's right now getting the nod as the starter. But I just think that Samaje Perine's talent is undeniable. So I think eventually he will surpass Rob Kelly.
Yeah. We've heard the reports that, and this was, if you heard this is probably as well on Tuesday's show, we were hearing reports that Rob Kelly is going to start as the starter during training camp, and we're like, duh, he was the starter last year, and Samaje Perine is a rookie, duh. But as we've all been saying right here, we expect that to change throughout the course of the season. Samaje Perine, we all think is a bit more talented, more athletic, a better fit for the offensive scheme. We like Rob Kelly, but also, the draft capital invested in Samaje Perine suggests that he'll get the nod at some point moving forward. And they've shown that they don't really truly commit to anyone in Washington, especially the running backs. They've been through how many running backs the last 2 or 3 years since Shea Gruden got there? So, and even with Kyle Shanahan being there, they've been through a bunch. Yeah, so, a very... I don't want to trash a team here, but they've been...
Our team?
No, I said anyone's team. This has been a very dysfunctional front office, and this has been the report for the last couple off seasons. So, not to say it's a bad idea to start Perine, but I expect them to make the move even if Rob Kelly is looking good. Honestly, the way they've been doing things. So Perine, we like. I'm trying to remember where he's going in drafts. I'll have to look it up. Anything you guys want to add while I look that up?
I think he was going in the 9th round, wasn't
he?
That seems kind of late. I think he was going higher than that.
I think
6th.
7th.
This is great radio, and I am not finding it.
Well, I'm just trying to remember because I remember when we did that draft that we did the other day. Not the other day, but a couple weeks ago.
Couple weeks ago now.
Yeah, where he was going. I thought he was going around that, 6th to 9th round. But
oh wow, Samaje Perine is going a full round ahead of Rob Kelly. Rob Kelly's going in the 8th round. Samaje Perine going in the 7th.
Yeah.
So that might be a little optimistic, depending on your league. That's why we're saying these are guys to draft. But I don't know. Do you guys think the 7th round for a guy who has an unclear time frame for when he's going to get starting snaps? I think that's a little too high for Samaje Perine, honestly.
As of right now, yes. But when people were actually drafting, which is probably going to be towards the end of next month or the middle, he'll drop. I think he'll start.
Holy crap! Yeah, he's moved up almost 2 full rounds over the last month and a half. He was a late 10th round pick to now where he is in the 7th. Wow. So 3 rounds. All right. So
No love for Rob Kelly.
That's a thing.
Hoorah.
Last guy we're going to talk about. Now, again, we're moving to the tight ends. There are 3 tight ends of note: O.J. Howard, David Njoku, and Evan Ingram. O.J. Howard we've kind of omitted because of a lot of things that we kind of were saying in the past, where he and Jason fights me on this, but he is in a committee.
That's why I hate when you say we. There's no we unless you got a mouse in your pocket.
All right. Well, I mean, you can upsell O.J. Howard all you want, but I mean, wow.
And you can downsell them all you want.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of mouths to feed in Tampa Bay. He's a rookie tight end.
Mm-hmm.
We don't recommend drafting rookie tight ends as a whole, and he's just not in the best situation out of the 3 guys. So I think, are we unanimously the lowest on him out of the 3, or are we? How do we feel about this? Because we can kind of talk about all 3 as one position group right now.
What are you saying? I'm sorry, what was the question?
How do you rank the 3 rookie tight ends? For me, it goes David Njoku, Evan Ingram, O.J. Howard, as far as drafting priority. I think O.J. Howard's the most talented, but he's the one I would draft 3rd based on his current situation and where he went in the draft.
To be honest with you, I'm not drafting any of them.
Well, I mean,
because, I'm really not. But if I was forced to draft one of them,
let's say
I'd probably go with O.J. Howard.
2 tight ends.
Deep.
Right.
So you 14,
would go 14 team leagues.
No, 20 team leagues.
14 team leagues.
20
team leagues.
I'd probably go O.J. Howard, Njoku, and then Ingram. Although Ingram is going to get some looks. That's the thing, because that's why they brought him in. He's basically a wide receiver there. They're not going to use him heavily as a regular tight end. But I do like Njoku just because he's in Cleveland. He is going to be the guy there. So he is going to get a lot of good looks, but O.J. Howard is a much, much more talented tight end, and I think he's going to demand touches, like I've said in the past.
To clear this up, O.J. Howard, who was taken ahead of all these guys, he went to Tampa Bay, where there was already Cameron Brate, and they have Mike Evans. They have plenty of running backs who can catch the ball. They drafted oh my God, my own guy, and I can't remember his name. I'll remember. Brought in Deshaun Jackson. Just a lot of mouths to feed in offense that hasn't had the best volume. Evan Ingram was drafted by the Giants 2nd, which shocked everybody. Everyone thought David Njoku, which we all, and everyone still agrees, and the measurables are pretty much there, that David Njoku was the better athlete, the better pass catcher, the better route runner, the better tight end. But Evan Ingram had an amazing combine, and I think they're going to use him as a pass catcher. He went to the Giants, but the knock against him with the Giants is that they already have 3 very good wide receivers out there running routes, so it's a concern. David Njoku is the only one that has a clear route to starting snaps. He went to Cleveland, where there's not a lot of pass-catching talent, and literally, the next morning, they called up Gary Barnidge and released him. So we know David Njoku is going to be the starter there, and for me, that's why he has to be in my rankings. Now, I'm not drafting probably any one of these guys unless it's, again, a deeper league, a 2 tight end system, whatever the case may be. But if I had to draft one of these guys, I definitely look Njoku first, Ingram second, and then just because of the situation in Tampa Bay, O.J. Howard third. Though I agree, again, he is the most talented. And all the reports, again, that are coming out, and they're still growing, saying that O.J. Howard's going to be used more as the blocking tight end and used in 2 tight end sets, where Cameron Brate's going to be more the pass catcher. I don't know. He is a rookie. They could take their time to develop him. This is just what we're hearing. So we would all say don't draft any of these 3 guys, but gun to your head, I'm taking David Njoku. He's got the clearest path. Jason, you're still taking O.J. Howard? Yes?
Like I said, I'm not taking any of them. But,
gun to your head, you have to take one. For fantasy this year, redraft league.
Of the 3, it would be O.J. Howard, but Njoku is a close second as far as rookie tight ends come for me.
And CJ, what about you?
I'm gonna go Everett. I'm gonna go Everett right
there. So we are completely divided as a show.
Everett. I'm not Gerald Everett. Evan
Ingram. There you go.
Ingram. Yeah.
There you go. I'm like, who's Gerald Everett? That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm gonna go him. I'm gonna go him just because. Look, I want to be different. One, and then I can go O.J. Howard because I like the quarterback situation a lot better.
That's true.
I don't like the quarterback situation right now. It's too murky. And then the only thing we got left is your boy with the Giants, and that's just a little better. And I think he's going to come along a lot quicker than people expected. And I know rookie tight ends, it's very hard to be able to find out where that next star is going to be and how what's the longevity in that season with them. But I think he's landed in a good spot, and I think he's the most talented tight end the Giants have right now on their roster. So
Evan Ingram,
that's going to be good for him.
Well, I mean, they're all rookies. Rookie tight ends almost never do anything for fantasy. So again, I wouldn't draft any one of these guys if I can avoid it. That's why O.J. Howard currently going as the 11th tight end off the board, ahead of Zach Ertz, Eric Ebron, Julius Thomas, Cameron Brate, even Austin Hooper, all guys that we like. I don't get it. No, he's going right behind Kyle Rudolph. Never mind. So, I don't know. Jared Cook. Did I mention him? I don't know. So, those are three tight ends that we are completely divided on. I think we all gave arguments for them, and I think we all think that we are the one that's correct here. So, I mean, that just shows that you can go a lot of different ways. Go with your favorite analyst. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. We could argue this a lot more, but we have to get out of here. We're already about an hour and a half. So with that, that's going to do it for us today. So everybody, please make sure you tune in on Tuesday when we will be talking about contract year players. So, I mean, a lot of people buy into and believe the concept that, hey, those players going to contract years, they've got a lot to play for. That leads to breakout years, upside. This is a good tie-breaking thing. Some people, they throw it out the window. Regardless, we're going to talk about it. So that's on Tuesday's show. As we mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you want to play against us in fantasy football this year in the 2017 season, you have to go to iTunes. But all you have to do is go to iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review, and that is it. You are automatically submitted for a chance to play against us in 2017's Fantasy Football Listener League. Just make sure you end your review with an email or with a Twitter handle so we can get a hold of you. Remember, all of our stats can be found on the website, thefantasyfootballfanatics.com, including all of the articles for the show as we continue to publish them. You'll find them there. If you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics to get yourself bonus content like this topic here we talked about a month and a half ago over there. Again, that's on patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. And subscribe everywhere. Again, we're here every Tuesday, Friday, through the offseason, through draft season, through the regular season. We're a year-round show, an independent podcast. And if you want to follow us individually, again, the show is at the FF Fanatics. I'm at G Palmer FFF. CJ is at CJ Hickman 89, and Jason is at Jason Cabrera 13. So, any parting thoughts before we sign off, guys?
It's getting closer, man. We're about to pick these people, and we're going to get whooped this season.
Uh-oh, trash talk already. We don't even know who we're playing against yet. Jason, how about you?
No, I'm good, guys. Thanks for listening, and come on, man, get in those rating reviews. We're getting ready to pick whoever's going to be in the league. Let's do it.
Yep, we have right around, I think it might be a little over 2 weeks still. I have to actually check the date. But yeah, time's running out. So if you want to play against us, get those reviews in. All right, everybody, take care. Have a great weekend. We will see you on Tuesday. Bye.
Life in the fast lane, moving at the speed of life, and I can't slow down.
Griffin was saying times running. I was like that guy from Family Guy. That's like wacky, playful, arm wave with 2 men, guys. And we want to pick you. I heard you guys talking crap about me that show.